Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I am Adam Williams.
And I'm Ashley Muckenhop.
And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain a rational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by me, Adam Williams, and we are back with episode 56.
Yes.
Still getting our feet under us.
Yep. Doesn't get easier.
All right. Since we had to arm wrestle over this,
Oh, gosh.
what's our topic today?
Yeah, I prepared last week. I feel like it covers a plethora of things, so we're rolling with it. It's what would Hemingway do? Exploring the shadow side of ambition and the light that falls.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's going to say something different on Spotify and iTunes,
because I had to change it, and it's going to say
it.
exploring ambition and standards in the shadows of success, but it's a combination of both of that.
All right, so let me explain this to everybody whose vocabulary is similar to mine. We're talking about standards and excellence and getting your team to rise to your level, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Can I start with the story of how we dragged Hemingway into this?
Yes. So people understand what does Hemingway have to do with.
All right. So before we jump into it, as always, blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9, going live at 9:05. We are on Facebook. Find us at Maverick Mindset Radio. You can find all of our episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And then, of course, MaverickMindsetRadio.com for more updates, more information, and, of course, Maverick merch. So, you ready for the story?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to have brief obsessions with things, and then I move on to another thing.
I've noticed. Trust me, I've noticed.
I am still in my circus history and circus memorabilia obsession. I am still in my private pilot license obsession.
Yep.
Some others have come and gone, but I'm leaving the studio today, going to the airport, and I'm going to Naples, Florida for...
Oh, that's today.
Yeah, like literally, I fly out at noon.
Oh, wow. Exciting.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So I have a 2-day mastermind in Naples with a
right.
group that I started working with in January. And I'm really excited because the guy that runs the mastermind I've known since 2020 or 2021, but never met in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined this group in January, and we've done, we meet weekly virtually, and we have done a 2-day virtual mastermind, but this is the first one in person, and I'm really excited. And we are staying at one of the Ritz-Carltons in Naples.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them there. And we're staying at the one that I'd rather stay at the other one.
Okay.
So the original Ritz-Carlton was in Naples, Florida, and it's really what put Naples on the map. And like, there's listeners in Erie who have condos down there, and because it's a great place, really high income, high net worth area. In fact, if it's not the biggest, it's one of the biggest real estate transactions in history just occurred down there. Residential real estate.
Okay, I remember you saying that. Yes.
$220 million or something crazy. I think I was a financial advisor. So I'm heading down. Mastermind's Thursday, Friday, and it's like, well, gosh, I've got the weekend. Mm-hmm. What do I do? So I started looking into options. And one option was I could do an extra night or 2 at the other Ritz-Carlton. So we're on the one that's like inland and there's a golf course.
The one that you wanted to stay at.
Yes, I could go stay at the original, the OG Ritz.
Yeah.
On the beach.
Like that,
right?
OG Ritz.
So that, yeah, I'm sure that's how they call it.
I know.
I'm sure that's what they call it. So I started looking at that, and it's like, all right, that would be cool, and that would be fun, and you can get a cabana at the pool or whatever. And then I started expanding my options, and
what did you find?
I've decided that Saturday morning I'm going to wake up really early,
okay,
and I'm going to get on the Key West Express, which is a big boat, and I'm going to go to Key West. So hop on the boat in Fort Myers. It's a 3 or 4 hour ride down to Key West. So then I start looking for hotels in Key West, and I've been there a couple times. My dad and I took a boat there years ago, which was the stupidest adventure we've ever gone on. So I found, I'm looking for Marriott properties. I'm a Marriott guy, looking for sponsorships. And I found a hotel that has a Hemingway suite.
Yeah.
And Ernest Hemingway lived in Key West. Mm-hmm. He lived in Cuba, lived in Europe. He was all over. Had a place in the Rockies, somewhere out there in the States. But he has a home in Key West that you can go and visit, and I've been there, and it's really cool. And it's famous because he had 6-toed cats with 6 toes.
Yeah.
And which cats are dumb. Yeah, I won't hold that against him.
Oh my
but
God.
he had some issues. But the cats are still there. Like they continue to breed. So you go and visit the house, and there's
It's like
these,
haunted
there's
by
these
the
6-toed
cats.
Yeah. But the thing, I haven't been to the house in probably 4 or 5 years. But what was really cool is it's a neat little house and typical like Key West design. And then he had a building behind the house, basically like a garage. And there was this narrow walkway to get to the second floor of this back building, the garage. And that's where he wrote.
Back away
So
from
he was
everything.
so isolated. There was one means of egress and ingress to this space. And he would wake up in the morning and he would go in that room and he would write. And then, afternoon would come around and he'd go to the bar. So I got the Hemingway suite booked. He actually stayed in this hotel and wrote one of his books. I don't remember which one it was. Maybe Islands in the Stream. I don't know. I'll find out when I get there. Because apparently the room that I got, the Hemingway suite, is haunted by Ernest Hemingway, which I'm really excited about.
Maybe you're going to have some great coming out of there, some great ideas.
Maybe. Or I'm going to come back pale with bloodshot eyes, like terrified.
We'll check on
so
you.
I started going down the Hemingway rabbit hole, right?
Yeah.
Because the last time I was there, Jackie and I were there. It was a really quick trip, and this time I'm going by myself. So I got some time to explore and find some inspiration. So I start going down the Hemingway rabbit hole, and I ordered like a 5-book set on Amazon that showed up, and started reading some books. And in fact, whatever book he wrote at this hotel, they give you a free copy when you stay in the suite.
Oh,
Kinda
very
cute.
cool.
So I'm going deep with this guy.
Yeah,
right?
you are.
I'm watching. I get on the Peloton. I'm watching YouTube videos and documentaries and reading the books.
You
and
are
Wikipedia.
becoming one with Ernest Hemingway.
So here's what was really interesting is he's written a lot of famous novels, right? But his last one, I think it was his last one, or at least the last one that was published while he was alive, was The Old Man and the Sea. Mm-hmm. And what had happened was he was a very successful journalist, and he would write, I guess, like newspaper and magazine articles, and he started doing novels. And a lot of his novels were based on his life experience. So, he would write about World War II because he served in World War II, and there's stuff about he got injured, and a lot of the storylines follow his life, which a lot of famous fiction authors do. And he had written a series of books that just weren't well received. Like they're like, come on, man! Like you're on your 6th marriage. We know where this story's going. It's kind of boring. So Hemingway got angry. He got mad, and he sat down and in 8 weeks wrote The Old Man and the Sea, which is like his best book ever.
Yeah.
Objectively, everybody pretty much agrees on it. So he went from, all right, you're doubting me. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go lock myself in. I think he was in Cuba when he wrote it. I don't even know. I guess I haven't done that much research. But the guy locks himself in a room for 8 weeks and cranks out his best work and says, I still got it.
Yeah.
I'm still here, right? So I'm getting pumped. Like, nobody looks at Hemingway that way. Everybody looks at him as, he was a drunk, he had mental health issues, he couldn't maintain a marriage.
Books in a dark room.
Ended up committing suicide. But I'm looking at it saying, no, like, people doubted him, and he stepped up to the...
He rose to the occasion.
He rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
And that's where you and I started talking about this, because we were talking about how do you get the people that you work with to
rise
do that.
to the occasion.
Yeah. So that's where this episode started, was how do you get your team to live and work to your standards? Mm-hmm. And obviously, of course, I think one of the big ways that you do it is you lead by example, which we're going to dig into that. But I was thinking about, I think he kind of realized people were probably right when they were critical of some of the work that he put out. He probably realized, you know what, this wasn't my best work, but I have an axe to grind and I have a point to prove.
Yeah.
And man, is that a great source of motivation and inspiration. And we've talked about that on the show too. We've talked about, what's the Bulls documentary on Netflix?
Oh, Last Dance.
Last Dance, which we've watched 37 times. Yeah. And it's such a great documentary. If you haven't watched it, watch it this weekend. But Michael Jordan, everybody knows who he is, best ever. And he would look for ways to like get angry.
Yeah.
He would make up stories. He would make up things in his head that people said about him that weren't actually true. And he would use that as motivation. So you and I were initially talking about using that dark side as motivation.
Yes.
Like, yes, I want to do great things and I want a great life and I want to have an impact, but also sometimes I need to put my foot on somebody's throat.
Yeah.
And there's a group of people out there that are listening that are saying that's not healthy. And then there's groups of people that like me that say, but I'm still going to do it.
Right.
Because sometimes it's necessary. So that's what we're talking about today.
That's where we're at.
All right. So give us the quote of the day. I have a lot that I want to cover today. So talk fast.
Okay, the quote of the day. In every man's life, there comes a time when the shadows stretch longer than the light. But it is in those moments, not of triumph, but of trial. Let me scroll
that
over.
The true story begins.
Yes. What would Hemingway do? He'd write through the darkness until dawn.
In every man's life, there comes a time when the shadows stretch longer than the light, but in those moments, not of triumph, but of trial, the true story begins. Yeah, all right. It's good. That's very flowery. That's a lot for a quote to read.
It is
that's a good quote to put on your Instagram profile.
Yeah. I kind of like it though.
Yeah,
well, and I picked it because we were just talking about this when you came in too. I don't think that you get to success without those trials first. I don't think that you can appreciate the success, and everybody else from the outside sees it and they're like, oh my God, this is great. But they don't see that darkness that you had to go through and all the trials and the tribulations before you got there. You do as the individual, you sit down and say, oh man, like I made it. I had to get through this, but I made it.
Yeah. There's the it must be nice to have overnight success people.
Yeah.
And then there's those of us who actually achieve success.
Yeah. And it's the story of that motivates and inspires others. It's the story that you can tell of the things that you went through and that you had to endure that's going to motivate and inspire others to do the same when they're like, you can't inspire and lead your team to do great if you haven't had to be in a place where it sucked.
Oh yeah.
First.
Yep. I agree with that.
So,
all right, so let's get into some of these things because there's like I said, there's a lot that I want to cover. So the first thing I want to talk about is raising that bar, like getting your team to operate at a higher level. Yeah. So I think a good starting point for this is a friendly reminder of the difference between goals and standards. Mm-hmm. Goals are what you want. Goals are what you're striving for.
Yeah.
You don't have it, but you want it, right? Mm-hmm. You desire it. Standards are the things that you tolerate. Standards are really the things that you have right now. Whether you admit it or not, what you have right now is your standard. And really successful people set goals, accomplish goals, and those goals become the new standard. Mm-hmm. So one way to achieve success is to raise your standards and not tolerate less than that. And I was just talking to this yesterday with somebody that we were interviewing. Like, she said she works for a really big company, and she's like, you guys are small. How do I know you're going to be around for a year? And it's like, because I have a standard.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to have less than what I have. And I'm not going to tolerate less than what I tolerate right now. In fact, I intend to raise my standards.
Yeah.
So it was a really good conversation. So starting with that, I think we're going to talk a lot today about you have to lead by example. Mm-hmm. Right. That theme is going to echo throughout this episode, but I have a lot of other meat that I want to put on this bone. So, number one, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. So when more than 5 times in my life, I have received a text message from someone who drove by our office and saw me picking up trash in our parking lot.
Yep.
Or pulling weeds. Yes. And like back in the day, I'd show up in a suit and dress shoes and I walk by the garden, the landscaping, and there's a weed. I'm going to step in that garden in my dress shoes and pull that weed out of there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk by that. And it's really frustrating for business owners when their employees walk past that piece of trash on the sidewalk every single day. We don't get it. Why are they doing that? I don't understand. And it's like, well, part of the reason is you haven't taken the time to demonstrate that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Right? This is wiping off the sink after you wash your hands. This is picking up the piece of trash in the parking lot. And it's not just at your business. Jackie and I were out to breakfast a few months ago, and there was a piece of trash blowing down the road. And I got up from breakfast and walked outside and picked it up and put it in the trash can and then washed my hands and sat down and ate breakfast because I watched 3 or 4 people walk by this thing, right? It was in the middle of the road. So that I'm not going to tolerate that in my life, and I have to do something about it. It's the dishes that sit in the sink, which we know that that's a standard that I personally am working on, and it's something that I don't really want to tolerate. So I think doing an audit of your standards right now to understand what it is that you're tolerating, because
people are watching you. We're watching what you're doing.
Yeah.
We're watching what Jackie's doing.
Yeah.
So, and you've said before, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I haven't already done.
Yeah.
So that's where, like, Memorial Day, you came in and you worked on a holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Not something people want to do. Not something that somebody would just choose to do. But you did it. We saw that you did it. And I was talking about this with the person that came in. And I'm like, if Adam ever said, hey, guys, I know it's a holiday, but we got to come in. I know that you've already done it. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
right?
I should probably address that too, because I think it's worth telling the rest of the story. Memorial Day is my all-time favorite holiday.
Yeah.
Like, we would throw blowout parties every year at our old house. We haven't done it in the new house, but it's my favorite holiday. It's the official start of summer. You're barbecuing, and obviously you don't want to lose sight of the Memorial Day reason that it exists, but it's like my favorite holiday. And we had a candidate that was referred to us that we frankly don't have a position for in the business. But she's a really great candidate.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's my job to create a big enough vision that other people's vision can fit within it. And I believe it's my obligation to create mutually beneficial opportunities for people that would be a good fit in our business. So we decided, as part of her interview process, we were going to bring her, she's from Toronto, we were going to bring her into Erie for 2 days. And the best time to do that was Memorial Day, because nobody was in the office and nobody would bother us and nobody would distract us. So she and I sat down all day Monday, and then she came in yesterday. Tuesday, and got to meet with the rest of the team. So yeah, I basically gave up sitting around and barbecuing on my favorite holiday in order to invest that time into, for us, what could be a huge opportunity. I don't know. It may not work out. We could have gotten through the 2 days and decided we didn't want to do it, but it was worth it for me to do that and not just say, just because it's Memorial Day, I have to not work at all. So yeah, now on the flip side, I don't want to create a standard that everyone has to work on holidays.
Right.
But I think I have to show I'm willing to do this.
Yeah.
And
there
I
are
think
times where it might be necessary to help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah. Well, one of my goals is to grow a world-class elite team of killers. That's one of the things that I have to do that. Right. And it comes back to the Michael Jordan angle as well. Like, he put the work in.
Yeah.
And he didn't ask anybody to do anything that he himself wasn't willing to do. So he lived that standard and demonstrated that standard and did not tolerate less than.
Do you know the story with Kobe Bryant? I always go back to it, especially when we were thinking about team. And
I know what you're going to say. I just watched this the other day.
Oh, I don't. Well, there's a couple. Well, it's all because he was known for not being initially a team player.
Yeah.
That he wasn't known for that, and that people didn't like him for it, and they would question him on it. And they're like, Kobe, you're taking the shots, you're winning the games. You know, pass me the ball, I'm open. And he would say, when you work like I do, when you put in the effort that I do, and you practice like I do, I'll pass you the ball. Until then, I'm winning the game on my own. And it's like, people don't agree with that. There's no I in team. Right. So but he had a different standard. His standard, put the effort and play like I do, and I will play with you.
Yeah. You got pressure is a privilege. Right?
Yeah.
You gotta earn it. Yep.
I keep taking that, and there's part of me, and so I messaged you last week, like, I don't want to pass the ball anymore to team members that aren't playing like I do. I don't want to.
So, all right, that's point number one. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept.
Yeah.
Point number two. This comes from Leaders Eat Last. So
Yeah.
I'll call it Leaders Eat Last. It's a book by Simon Sinek. Really good book.
That's the name of the book, Leaders Eat.
Yes.
Okay.
It's he's a great author. He's a great speaker. He's also the guy who came up with the concept of Start With Why, which is another really great lesson. I think that became a book. I think it started as a TED Talk. Could be the other way around. Could have been a book that became a TED Talk. But he wrote a book called Leaders Eat Last, which really focuses, or at least it starts out focusing on the military and the Marines and the things that they do. And in the Marines, the higher ups eat last. Like the newbies, I don't know what the term is, but when they get to the cafeteria and they have a meal, they eat first. And it's not a rule and it's not a requirement, and nobody says this is what you must do, but it's the way that it works. And what the message that sends is the more experienced guys, the higher ups, the people that have put in the work and gotten the promotions are here to protect you. And you are safe here.
Yeah.
So we will make the sacrifice so that you can be served first, because that's the culture that we have here. So I think in a business, it's the same thing. Your team, your employees have to feel safe. They have to have that psychological safety. They have to know that you've got their back. But the other part of that equation is you won't let them off the hook.
Yes.
So those things can often be conflicting. You and I were talking about this yesterday with Jackie, that I'm really good at getting people to do things.
Yes.
I'm not so great at making people feel good all the time. We've had other people in leadership positions in our firm that are really good at making people feel good and horrible at getting them to actually get things done.
Yeah.
The best leaders combine the two.
Yeah.
I make you feel good. I make you feel safe.
But I hold you accountable.
But you're going to get it done. Yeah. So that's the lesson from Leaders Eat Last. And I think a lot of leaders, a lot of business owners forget about how important it is to make their team feel safe. Because if they don't feel safe, they're in survival mode and they can't be creative, they can't thrive, they can't succeed.
Yes.
So you have to start with that. And if you are showing up negative and complaining and focusing on all the problems, your team's not going to feel safe. They're not going to feel secure with you.
Yeah, it brings the energy down.
They're not going to be able to execute at all. So you've got to be able to pair empathy with accountability.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3, related to number 1, you get what you tolerate. So if your team isn't performing, you have to look in the mirror, because chances are it's something that you're doing. You don't have the systems in place. You don't have the incentives in place, or you just continue to tolerate mediocrity. That's what's going to produce the results for you. So you have to monitor and spot check the work that your team is doing. You have to secret shop your business. You have to call and see what it's like to interact with your business, or have someone do it for you. You have to put yourself in the customer's shoes and walk in the front door, or go through your website and see what it looks like to place an order. And if you're not paying attention to those things, they're going to slip, right? Because people are not going to have the same standards that you do as the business owner. No one in your business will ever care as much as you do about the business. So you have to step on the scale. We talk about, you have to look in the mirror. You have to monitor those things, and then put consequences and rewards in place for your team, so that they understand good and bad consequences, rewards, punishments. And you have to be clear about it. So we say that, or I say, vagueness breeds excuses. So if you're not clear about what you wanted, it's pretty easy to say, well, I didn't understand, or I didn't get it, or I thought you meant this other thing. All right. So those are my 3 initial themes of establishing that standard for your team. Okay. And I know what you're going to ask next. And I got to find my notes. I know you're going to say, Adam, this started with me telling you I need the team to work at the level that I'm working, and to execute at the level that I'm executing. How do I get them to do that?
Yes.
I'm so glad you asked.
Without getting angry.
Yeah. Let's keep one thing in mind.
Yeah.
5% or less, I'll say 5% of people are motivated self-starters.
Yeah.
And then there's everybody else. And you cannot grow a team only with that 5%, no matter how hard you try. One, it would be nearly impossible to find 100% of the people who are in the 5% who are motivated self-starters. And 2, if you do that, they're going to cost so much money that you're not going to be profitable. So businesses are like sports teams. They have a salary cap. There's an amount that you can spend on payroll that makes sense, and you're going to have A players and B players and maybe 1 or 2 C players, no D and F players.
No.
So you've got to balance that. Like, yeah, I want some killers. I want some motivated self-starters, but everybody else.
You got to have a little bit of both.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So what you need to understand for the other 95% who aren't those motivated self-starters is what makes them tick.
Should B players hold a position that an A player should be in?
Well,
Where do you put the B player?
Depends.
I feel like you'd put the B player in a B position where they can't really screw some stuff up.
Yeah, or you. The hope with B players is they eventually elevate to A players.
Well, that's the goal.
So
that's
you have
what
to
you
give them that
see
opportunity. Yeah.
Potential, but I feel like I find they regress to C players.
Well, there are certain roles where the standard is a B player, and it's okay.
Yeah.
There are other
Yeah.
roles where I will not tolerate less than an A player because it's so vital and so important
Right.
to our business. So it really depends. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer there, but you at least need to be aware of how your players on your team score out and how important that role is to, again, you're auditing your standards. Are they aligned?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So I came up with 7 different ways that people are motivated, or what that pushes people to succeed. You ready for these?
I'm ready.
Number 1, the reward chaser. They're motivated by money and perks, like very financially motivated. So the bonuses, the raises, the commissions.
They're in it for the money.
Yes.
They're not in it for the
You
goal
say that
or
like
the
it's a
vision.
bad thing.
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think when you have a player that's in it for the money, they don't share the vision of the goal and the standard to get there.
You can align those things though.
Yeah.
So here's where your frustration is coming from, is you assume as a leader that other people are motivated by the same things that you are. You are less motivated by money.
Right.
If you were motivated by money, you would come to me and say, Adam, I want you to pay me minimum wage plus a commission on every sale that I make.
Yeah.
And if you were really motivated by that, you'd actually make more money than you do right now. But you're
Yeah,
not.
but it's
you're
not my-
You're not that motivated by money,
Yeah.
right? But if you know what you're doing in your business and you understand that your team is motivated, if people on your team are motivated by money, then you have to align those causes, right?
Right.
So if I want you to buy into the vision and live the standard and do certain things in the business, if you are the reward chaser, then I'm going to incentivize you financially to do those things, right? But I have to understand that people are motivated by that.
Yeah.
Number 2, I'm really curious after I get through all 7 of these for you to self-diagnose on
I
this.
know. I will.
Number 2, the recognition seeker, motivated by praise and public acknowledgement. So they like being seen, they like being appreciated, celebrated by leadership and by their peers.
Yeah.
Right? So these are the people that you give the shout out in the team meeting. You give them fun titles like MVP. You give them the handwritten notes of appreciation. So there are people that you say, hey, the whole team saw how you stepped up this week. That's
Yeah.
what leadership looks like. And that's the person that they go, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, like that. I'm ready to go and do it again.
Yeah.
Right? Not motivated by money, but that recognition, or I think for us, we talk about words of affirmation, like that can go a long way with some people. So if you are a leader and you don't understand that that's important to your people, and you're like me, not naturally inclined to pat people on the back and say good job, well, you better make an adjustment there, because they're not going to perform if you're not giving them what they want, and what they
Right.
want is recognition. Okay. Number 3,
Okay.
the mission driven. So they're motivated by purpose and impact. Okay. So these are the people that when we talk about the work that we do and why it's important and the change that we want to make in the world, they buy into that. And
Right.
so long as they are connected to that purpose and that impact and that mission, they will be fulfilled and they will continue to do what needs to be done.
Yep.
Okay. They want meaningful work. They want a sense of purpose. They want to contribute to something bigger than themselves. This for me is very important.
Yes.
Like I am motivated by this, that I need to step back at the end of the day and say, closer to mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Right. I need to see that impact. So it's important as a leader for them to connect what they do day to day to that bigger picture and that bigger mission and that bigger purpose. Because if they're in the day to day, if they're in the weeds, and they lose sight of that bigger picture, they're going to lose motivation.
Yes.
I think it's also helpful to involve these folks in decisions that impact other people.
Yes.
So that they can continue to see that purpose and that impact. So I'm not great at this. I guess the part of this, I've got language that you can use for each of these, but this is the one that I'm not so great with. But like, this isn't just a spreadsheet. It's how we help business owners keep more of what they earn, right? So connecting the tool, the deliverable, the bullet point to the outcome, right? So that's the mission driven. Number 4, the growth junkie.
Yeah.
Motivated by learning and mastery. So they value personal development, new challenges, skills advancement. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for that growth opportunity, right? It may not be a change in title. It may not be a transition from a junior who does the work to a senior who's supervising the team, but they do want to get better at the things that they do.
Yeah.
In fact, I think with the growth junkie, these are the people that you see going out, listening to podcasts, reading articles, reading books, taking courses to continue to grow and develop. So these are the people that I think you give the stretch assignments to.
Yeah.
Like, here's what you're capable of. I'm tacking on 20% and I want you to go and do it. And they get fired up about that. There's other people that you say, here's what you can do, and I'm tacking on 20%, and they say, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Right? But the growth junkie seeks that out. They want the courses, they want the mentorship, maybe they want the leadership track where they do get into a management role because it's a new skill for them. So you say to these people, I see you as someone who could run this team one day. Let's start building that path.
Yeah.
So we know the steps that you have to take to get from here to there. Number 5, the control freak. Don't laugh. All right. We're not judging people here.
I'm not
This is real life.
Yeah. They exist.
Okay. So maybe I shouldn't have called it the control freak. But these people are motivated by autonomy and ownership. They want freedom. They want decision-making power. They want independence. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to be able to decide
just do it.
What to do. Yeah. So these are the people that they own a project. They set their own workflow, their own pace, or they innovate different systems. So these are the people that you say, hey, I trust your judgment. You got the wheel. Just keep me updated.
Yeah.
They want to control their destiny directly with their hands on the controls, right? Number 6, the belonging seeker, motivated by team and connection. They value camaraderie, feeling like they're part of something. They value strong relationships. So these are the people that love the team rituals, the stand-up meetings, the birthday parties, the events that you throw, the retreats. If they work in pods, they tend to be a little more tight-knit. They love the collaborative wins where the whole team is winning. So these are the people that you say, hey, this team's energy is better when you're fully engaged, so we need you in on this, right? So they're buying into that team. And then number 7, the people who just want to win.
Yeah.
The competitors. The people that need to see a victory over something. Could be over a competitor, could be over a cause, could be a victory against the IRS. So they value that sense of competition. They love to win, or if they lose, they want to know what it takes to win next time. Right? So these are the people that you say, here's what you're up against. Here's what you're facing. Are you up for this challenge?
Yeah.
And they usually are.
I like that.
That was pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
I should write a book on that.
Yeah.
This one took me a lot of thought to come up with the 7 ticks. So we got the reward chaser with money and perks, the recognition seeker, looking for praise and public acknowledgement, mission driven, motivated by purpose and impact, the growth junkie, looking for learning and mastery, the control freak, motivated by autonomy and ownership, the belonging seeker, who wants that team and connection, and the winners, the competitors. What do you think? Can you self-identify with any of those?
No, I'll create my own.
And then there's
8.
Ashley.
And then there's number 8. So it's the chameleon. It is.
That makes it so easy to lead you because I got to figure out what mood you're in today.
Because every one of those at some point in the last 4 years in my growth, I have experienced each of those. Each of those was a motivating point in
Yeah.
the steps that I've taken to where I'm at. Now, it's a combination of all of them, depending on what I'm doing, that sometimes I just want to win. When you come and you say, there's this, are you up for it? Because that you're known for
Yep.
doing that. And yeah, I am. Absolutely. And sometimes I feel like I've done a really great job at something and I want the recognition from it. And sometimes, yeah, I want to be in control because I feel like somebody else is messing it up and I want to own that and I want to see where it has to go. I feel like at different places in what I do, I'm a combination of all of those. And it's just depending on what is going to be my motivating factor that day.
That's because you're a growth junkie.
You think so? Maybe.
Yeah. When I think especially with the language, right? If I told you here's the results you can earn and how you get there, I don't think that's going to fire you up.
Yeah.
I think if I say this isn't just a spreadsheet, it's how we help business owners keep more of what they earn, you say cool.
Yeah.
But if I say, hey, I see you as someone who could lead this team one day, let's build the path to get there.
I'm going.
Right? Now, you make another good point too, though, that I don't think it's necessarily true that it's only one of these 7 for
Yeah.
each individual.
Yeah.
They're going to come in varying degrees, and it
Yeah.
is going to be different depending on the day, right? There are times when I'm booking that vacation that I'm very financially motivated. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then there are other times where, you know, the financial situation's okay, the team is running well, and I just got to go out and kick some butt.
Yeah.
Right. So there isn't one clear answer. But again, in that moment, I think it's important for you as a leader to talk to your team and say, what motivates you to bring your best to work? And in fact, one of the things that we're working on is, I don't, what did I call it when I sent this to you last night? Because I did this thing, but I don't have it ready for like mass consumption.
Oh, yeah.
The Maverick Leadership Toolkit.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So we're building this thing, and it spells out these 7 areas. So you can sit there and have these 7 categories, and you
Go
can
over it with your team.
Yeah. So I think if I sat down with you and said, what motivates you to bring your best to work? You're just going to say, well, I just want to do a good job. But if you go deeper, it's going to be one or some combination of these 7 categories that we went through. The other thing I think you have to do as a leader is test. So if I do give a bonus, I need to see who really lights up.
Yeah.
We gave Christmas bonuses to almost everybody at the end of last year. I think one person thanked us.
Wow. That was probably me, by the way.
You'd be surprised.
I thank you every year.
You think, yeah. But on the flip side, if you get public praise, you know, and you see who really lights up with that, you know
Yeah.
that that's their. So you gotta test and
You got
experiment.
to see
with-
what. Yeah.
Who's stepping
This
up
is
and
true.
volunteering for extra responsibility, extra work, extra jobs, right? Those are probably the growth junkies. The other thing that we do that really helps with this is we use some different personality tools or tests or evaluations.
Yes.
So we use DISC, which comes through our recruiting software, which has been really helpful. We use Working Genius, which is from Patrick Lencioni's book, The 6 Types of Working Genius.
Okay.
Is it 6 or 7? WIDGET. 6 Types of Working Genius. We had used the Predictive Index previously. So we use a lot of these in our recruiting and in our management to
Yeah, to
understand what
see.
makes people tick. Yeah. So that's really helpful too. And the other thing that I've found with using those tools, different tools over a period of time, is when you ask, the best ones are set up that it's a quick test,
Yes.
right? It doesn't take an hour to get this assessment done. They're
Right.
usually
Working
done-
Genius is quick.
Yeah, it's
That's
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, the person gets the results and they say, wow, I didn't know that about myself, but it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
And there are people that say, I don't do those because people aren't honest and you can say whatever you want on those. And you can lie and you can say it. But when it comes time then to do the work, it's very obvious
yeah.
that you're not what that spit out that you are. So
Yep.
yeah, it doesn't get you anywhere to be dishonest on it.
So let's spend a few minutes talking about, and we've done a show on recruiting, and I'm sure we're going to talk more about it, but I think just in general, how you get to building that team that raises the standard. So, of course, it starts with recruiting. You have to bring the right people in, right? You've got those 5% motivated self-starters. You've got the 95% of everybody else, but that doesn't mean that everybody that's in that 95% is going to work out. So for us, one of the questions that we ask, and if any candidate is listening to this show, learn a lesson. We do a written interview and we say, what's the last book that you read?
Mm-hmm.
And when people are telling me the last book I read was during lockdowns in 2020.
Yeah.
Or the last 3 books that I read were a nonfiction series. I'm okay with you reading nonfiction, but
But why?
we are focused on growth. We are growth driven. We want to become experts, and nobody's coming into this business with all of the expertise, right? So we want to show that you're interested in growth and development. And if you're not bothering to read a book, I mean, even if there was a guy recently that said, I don't really read books, but I read these 6 trade journals.
Oh.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can tell that you're interested in this. So we're always recruiting for mindset, not just the skill set. And
Important.
we try to make it clear what our standard is, starting with that job ad. So a different candidate that I interviewed yesterday said, I've been an accountant, a CPA for 20 some years, and it never occurred to me until I read your job ad how obvious it was that your service is necessary.
Yeah.
And we demonstrate through our job ad that we're proactive and we're forward looking and we're here to help our clients. And that's not what you hear from a lot of accountants.
No.
Right? So making it clear from day one, the moment they first interact with you, that we've got standards. And then of course you interview and you test for all of those things. And I've been pretty clear with people during week 1, I'll pay you $5,000 if you quit right now. No one's taken me up on that.
Pay you to quit.
But because you're going to cost me money if you stick around and you don't like it here. If you don't think this is going to work, I need you out of my life.
Yep.
No offense. Actually, no. I don't care if you're offended. And that's I think it was Zappos that first started doing that. But yeah, like, you've been here long enough. You've been through this interviewing process. You started onboarding. If you don't think this is great right now, take the money and run.
Well, and on the other end of that, if you're somebody that is applying to jobs, most people are applying for jobs because they don't have one or they want to make more money. So they're looking at, what does it pay? And is this something that I can do because I need a job?
And can we just talk about that for a second? Why aren't people posting the salary on their job ads?
I don't know.
Why are you
That's
wasting
so
everybody's
weird.
time?
Yeah.
Why are you wasting everybody's time?
Weird about it? There's
We
stop.
put a range. We put a big range because you can, if you put in the work, earn this high number. You're not going to start there.
Yeah. Just say what it is.
Why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting candidates' time?
Yeah.
And it's probably
They're
the
gonna
same
ask
people.
you.
It's probably the same people who are complaining, we don't get any good candidates. Well, because you have 3,700 requirements in your job post and you don't say what's in it for them.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, that's the thing. It's a job post of, that's what we've talked about that too, where they just, here's a bullet points of everything, but it doesn't really describe the job or what you're going to be doing or what it's expected of you or what the standard is or what we're not going to tolerate, all of those things. But I think if you start applying for jobs that you really want. Yeah. Start applying for jobs that you could really see yourself. It's 8 hours a day that you got to sit there.
Unless the employer is doing a good job with that job ad, you don't know
exactly. If you had been a basic bullet point type job ad when I was applying, I would not have applied. I got to spend 8 hours a day with you.
Okay, so it's my job to not be a basic bullet point boss.
Oh, I like that.
I
like that. Yeah, don't be that. Because again, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not trying to find a job that I'm just going to be in for a little while. Yep. I'm trying to find a job I'm going to be in for the rest of my life.
Which I think genuinely, even not the rest of your life, but generally people are looking for longer term employment, right? They want that.
Yeah. So why would you apply to something that you're just like, the money's good. I can force myself to get up every day and go to it. Nobody wants you there.
All right. So we're going to make the standard clear from the job ad and the recruiting. Then we're going to get into onboarding and we're going to set the tone early, right? I need to demonstrate, our culture doesn't happen by accident. It's by design.
Yes.
And it starts on day one. It starts prior to day one.
It does.
So we've got our welcome packet that we send to people. Mm-hmm. And we send books and newsletters and we show them this is what we're about. The 4 agreements, the power of TED, U squared, I think we've been sending to some people. They're all really great books that show this is us.
Yeah.
If you don't understand, if you can't sit down and read the 4 agreements, we don't want you working here. And if you sit down and read it and you have no interest in living the 4 agreements, we don't really want you here. So we're setting that standard up front. If you get a welcome packet a week before you start and we sent you 3 books and you haven't cracked one of those books by day 1, we know this is not going to work out.
Yeah. I remember the person we hired, they didn't master them, but
which one in the path of destruction?
Gave the books back when we decided that it could. And I was like, yeah, I totally read you from the beginning. Of course you gave them back.
Maybe that was just out of guilt, feeling bad that they got something for free, but whatever.
Use it. Maybe if he'd read the books and kept them, he'll do better in the future.
All right.
Just so
I'm
you know.
changing the subject. I'm changing the subject before you get me sued. Oh my God. All right. So we got our welcome packet. We demonstrate what great looks like. So we don't just talk about it. We demonstrate it. We show this is good work product. I think we don't really like assign a culture mentor, but we do have our culture ambassadors like you who we try to get more early involvement with people so that they understand. Yeah. And actually it worked out really well yesterday when I was late to this interview and you sat down with this candidate without telling me for like a half an hour, and she got to ask you the good question. After she spent a full day with me, she got to ask you some good questions. Yes. I almost wish I had done that on purpose. Right? Yeah. That would have, but it worked out by accident. And then I think it's also important in those first 30 and 60 and 90 days to give feedback to people on how it's going for them. Yep. All right. Number 3, after the onboarding, then we've got ongoing training. So we often have to teach people skills in our business because the way that we do things are different. It's true for every business. Every coffee shop makes coffee a little bit differently. So you can teach those skills, but the standards have to be modeled. Yeah. They have to be demonstrated. And again, this comes back to looking in the mirror, stepping on the scale, not walking past the thing that you want to tolerate. So we make sure there's shadowing. One thing that I wish I had the capacity for was more role playing. I'm just not good at acting, but that is something that would be...
I've seen you act before. I don't know.
I can't do, like, if we role played a sales call, I'm really bad at that. I don't enjoy it.
I don't like that either.
So
I really don't like that.
We're going to start doing it, though. I think it's also important to keep score, right? And you measure what you want to improve. Yeah. So tracking the things, we use our penny jar, right? If somebody does something great in the business, we recognize them for that. And then making sure that you're giving feedback, timely feedback, and having those difficult conversations. All right. And then the fourth one that I wanted to get into, which I broke this down a little bit further, is like, what do you do when they're falling short? Like, how do you pull people up instead of pushing them out? Yeah. We have a few minutes left to get through this.
When they fall into the dark place.
Which everybody does.
Yeah.
It happens to elevate us. So, and if you're not the motivated self-starter and you're not self-aware and you don't recognize what's happening, how can you as a leader do this for others, or how can you expect a leader to do this for you? Mm-hmm. So, number 1, you clarify the expectation gap. Here's where I expected you to be, and here's where you are. That first part of explaining here's where I want you to be, a lot of leaders don't even have that conversation. They assume like, well, you can read my mind, or I thought about it and you should just get it, but they aren't clear about here's where it needs to be. Here is the expectation. Yeah. If you can quantify it or if you can measure it some way. So here's what excellent looks like, and here's where I see the gap. So it gives that opportunity to learn and grow and improve and do better. Because I think in a lot of businesses, if they've gone through this process and you've done a good job of recruiting and onboarding and even training, the underperformance more often than not comes from a lack of clarity, not a lack of desire. So they've got to be really clear of here's what I expect of you. Yeah. You're doing 2 a day. And I'm sorry I didn't tell you, but we need to be doing 7 a day. Yeah. Oh, I had no idea. I can do that. I can figure out a way to do that. I'm going to have to get a little more efficient and maybe ask for some help with the team, but I can get there. So that clarity is key, and not assuming that people can read your mind. Number 2, ask, don't assume, which this is one of our core values. Find the truth, right? Or there's actually that's one of the 4 agreements too. Yeah, be curious, not judgmental. So I think especially using open-ended questions. So here's the goal. What's holding you back from hitting that goal? And I think it's really important that there's transparency. Yeah. I love it in our business when I say, what's holding you back from hitting that goal? And the person says, you. That takes guts.
That does.
But I love it because it's like, you know what? You're right. I didn't do the thing that I said I was going to do in time for you to get your job done. So I'm holding you back. Or you need this piece in order to finish the puzzle, and I'm holding that piece. Yeah. So what's holding you back from hitting the goal? Could be systems, could be team, could be resources, could be I've got too many priorities and I don't know which one to put first. I don't have enough time. So what support do you need to perform at a higher level? So now you're getting that person in a creative space where they're proposing the solutions, so they should know what's holding them back. And it gives them a little bit of of ownership and shows that you're invested in their success. Number 3, when somebody isn't hitting the standard, when they aren't meeting the standard, is create a short-term challenge. So I'm going to set a 7, a 14, or 30-day challenge where we both agree on a higher standard and we're going to track progress. This isn't necessarily a performance improvement plan. This isn't if you don't hit this, you're fired. But this is all right, we're going to sprint. And we just did this.
We just did the 30-day sprint.
Oh, I'm so glad you connected those dots.
Yeah.
We're in the midst of a 30-day sprint.
You're like, this stuff needs to get done. Let's.
Yeah. So, and it was we said we gotta apply for 15 podcasts in 30 days. That's a lot more. We had been doing 5 a month, and we tripled it, right? So short-term challenge, let's get back on track and let's get caught up here. Create a little bit of urgency, make things a little more accountable. I really hope you're on pace for that because I haven't checked in on it. I haven't done a great job there. So it's a short enough time frame that we can keep our eye on the prize and focus on it and get it done. Number 4, when someone isn't meeting the standard. The standard is non-negotiable, but make the path personal. That's really funny because we talked about that before the show when I changed the topic. And I'm like, well, the goal is the standard is put on a great episode. The way that we get there is going to be different every time. Yeah. What did Joel say? 306 comes no matter every day, no matter what. So the outcome is non-negotiable, but I'm willing to work with you on how to get there, right? If you told me, hey, I'm not going to go and fill out 15 podcast or speaking applications for you, but I got this other person that's going to do it, or here's a different way that I want to make it happen, or I'm going to hire a vendor. Fine. The outcome is 15 applications, right?
The goal is still get it done.
I don't need your fingers on the keyboard to make sure that happens. And what that does is it shows that I trust you to find your way to get the thing done, so long as you're held to the right outcome. Yeah. So I think that's really important. Number 5, this was worked with you. Assign a high stakes visible task. Mm-hmm. Do you remember, Jackie, this was a while ago. I wanted to create a contest in our office that I had just started posting on TikTok and had some success.
Oh yeah.
And Jackie said, I want to be on TikTok. And she was going to work with somebody else in our business. And I said, all right, here's the deal. We'll start today with our follower count. And in, 30 days, whoever has more followers, if I win, I make a donation to Trump's campaign in your name. Yeah. And if you win, the donation goes to Biden. I'll pay the money, right? But you get the satisfaction of knowing Adam Williams made a campaign contribution to Biden's campaign. And she wouldn't do it. But that was high stakes. That was visible, right? Like that. And I still think the right people would have been motivated by that. Right. Because honestly, if you've got the opportunity to grow Adam's TikTok following or Jackie's TikTok following, you've got an unfair advantage with Jackie. Let's be honest. Yes. So yeah, that high stakes visible task. So you put them in charge of something meaningful. There's visibility to the team. There's consequences. Mm-hmm. And again, it shows trust. It creates a little bit of pressure. And that pressure is what helps people focus and inspire their performance. Number 6, I think you can also use positive peer pressure. So getting the rest of the team bought in on what they're trying to get done. This isn't shaming them publicly, right? This is not negative criticism, but nobody wants to be the weakest link. So when the culture celebrates the top performers, they want to be a part of that. Number 7, you've got to document and follow through. So like I said, our goal was 15 podcasts in 30 days. I haven't checked in on that and it's day 28. Whoops.
I've been checking in.
But I think, all right, where are we at? Where are we at? Not there. You got 3 days. So, but it shows we're serious and we're watching. And then number 8, you just got to know when to call it. Like cut your losses, move on. If somebody's repeatedly under delivering, if it's chronic, you got to get rid of them. Yeah. So that's how you get people to step up. So let me wrap up with some challenge questions here. I think here's the audit on your standards, especially when it comes to your team, is are you leading people the way that you like to be led or the way that they need to be led? I know the answer for you. You're assuming that everybody's motivated by the same thing as you. Fortunately, you just got a lot of really good training during this episode. Who is an underperforming team member that you've judged but never actually asked what motivates them? You jerk. So I think sitting down with people and saying, what kind of recognition or reward makes you feel valued? When are you energized in your work? What's your personal win being on this team? Like, let's start asking these questions Go out this week. Have one real conversation, not about deadlines or deliverables, but about drive.
What is it, Jerry Maguire? Help me help you.
Help me help you. Yeah. Ask one team member what lights them up. And don't make it open-ended. Maybe help guide that conversation with the 7 things that we talked about today that makes people tick. So what pushes them? What do they want? How can you fan their flame? Hey. And I'm done. Great show, everybody. Have a great week. I believe in you.